Alright, hey viewers, this is WatchMeSC.
And this is quill18.
And we are bringing you Tower Dive, a League of Legends podcast. So, there's the intro, and we're just going to go straight into personal updates. For my channel, I know I haven't been updating much. I haven't been updating much content recently. I was working a lot last week and busy with a new female friend, so you know how that goes. So, that's pretty fun time, so I can't really complain about that. And I'm going to be focusing on League of Legends more. I read the comments for my update video, and everyone was like, you know, we don't really give a shit about your other gameplay. I mean, I'm still going to do them a little bit, but I will, especially now with my limited time frame, I'm going to be focusing more on League of Legends to keep you guys up to date and make sure I know what I'm talking about.
What do you mean people don't like your other updates? Your other games are awesome, man.
I know, I think so too. I mean, I subscribe to people for like all sorts of games, but, you know, I got to give the people what they want.
I don't know. People harass me all the time to, like, finish Fallout 3, and I think, like, okay, after 30 freaking videos, I think we've had enough Fallout 3. I don't know.
Yeah, I know.
So I got a mini update as well. Unfortunately, I'm going to be away this weekend and next weekend. I'm taking a long weekend both just to get some holiday time before the end of the summer. So I'm going to be a little hard-pressed to fill in the gaps there, but I will be home for a couple of days in the middle of the week, and we'll certainly try to make time to make another podcast at least, but I'm not 100% sure how many videos I'm going to be able to make for the next 8 or 9 days.
Sounds about right, and on that note, I just want to thank everyone for the overwhelming support we got for the first podcast. You know, that was pretty awesome, guys, so just much thanks there. Everyone seemed to show a lot of love, everyone seemed to enjoy it, pretty much almost all positive comments, and a lot of good questions for this week's viewer-submitted stuff, so I just want to say thanks to all, both mine and Quill's viewers. And I also want to say that if you didn't notice all the weird comments I've been posting, you have been seriously like almost exactly 20 subscribers behind me for months now. It's eerie.
Well, yeah, but that's because now we've locked our subscriptions, right? We've got you and I. Anyone subscribes to one channel, chances are you're going to subscribe to the other. So we're more or less going to stay in sync, I think, from now on. Yeah,
especially if people are listening to either of our videos, because I talk about you in most of mine, and vice versa.
Yeah.
So, let's go into, we don't really have, any League of Legends news this week. Couple stuff we're going to talk about that we were going to talk about now, but that's at the end of the video, so you guys are going to have to wait for that. And, we're just going to go into free this week, and we're changing it all into kind of, instead of free this week champion, we're going to do, what is it? What did you say it was called?
Well, we're going to talk about This Week in League of Legends, which is going to encompass patch notes, any new champions, and also what the free champions are. And of course, there was no patch this week, so there's not much to talk about there. But we did miss one very important thing last week, and that is Galio, the new champion.
Yes, we definitely missed him, and sorry about that. We had a lot of things to talk about, and a lot of topics to cover, and we were still trying to get basically our formatting down, and we still are now. As you can tell, we're still organizing everything, but I think we're doing a pretty good job. Mm-hmm. So I'll let you start, because obviously you own him and you've been using him. You used him last game, and I've never used him, so I'll just be putting in my 2 cents here and there for the most part on this time.
Right. Well, I actually made a video for Galio last week. I haven't posted it yet. I haven't done my commentary for it, but I'm all ready to do it as soon as I've got a little bit of time. He's definitely a champion that I'm excited about, that I enjoy, because he really fits my style very well. Now, that's not to say that I think he's all that powerful. In fact, I think there's sort of a major issue with his ultimate that you kind of have to work around. But otherwise, I do think he's a nice addition to the game, sort of a tank support. I guess we'll run through his abilities real quick.
Yeah, sounds great.
So his passive is just that 50% of all of his magic resist gets added to his AP. So the more magic resist you pack on, the more damage your abilities are going to do, which is a nice little thing. I mean, a lot of times the passives are not something you can rely on, but it does ensure that as you make him more tanky, his damage output doesn't suffer too much. His Q ability, and you know what, I should pull him up just so I've got the names, because I have all of his abilities memorized, but not the names of them. So his Q ability is Resolute Smite. He fires a concussive blast from his eyes, which deals damage. It's an AoE ranged AoE, you drop it down, does damage in the area, and slows people down. The slow is not bad. It's a little hard to snag people if they're running away, but it definitely does come in handy. The nice thing is it actually scales in damage pretty well, and it is a monstrously good farming tool. Once you get up to 5 ranks, I think it may be able to one-shot the caster mobs. Of course, it depends a little bit on the time of the game, since they get a little bit more powerful as time goes on. But it's really nice, and I really enjoy it. His W ability, Bulwark. So his Q ability is what I max out first. His W ability is what I max out second. That's his Bulwark. He can put it on himself or any allied champion. It increases their armor and magic resist by a considerable amount. It also heals Galio a little bit while the bubbled person takes damage. But it's a pretty good defensive tool, and it is nice that you can put it on other people. It's a little bit like Rammus's defensive ball curl, but you can use it as a support tool. His E.
I have 2 questions real quick to interrupt you.
Sure.
For the E ability. For the passive, I just want to mention that like the passive is like almost like a double-edged sword. We were talking about this during our attempt at a dual commentary, which I don't know if it will get posted or not, but like basically if you're against a team with a lot of magic like AP users, it's going to be awesome. But if you're against a team with, a lot of DPS champions, it's not going to work so well in your favor, and Galio's going to end up being, a little weak. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword. It can be really amazing or, pretty subpar.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's an issue that comes up with its ultimate as well.
Yeah, and one thing I wanted to mention with the W is, what's the ratio on the heal there? Like, I've seen people put it on Galio himself. Like, if he takes 100 damage, how much is he going to get healed back for? Is it depend on the level? Is the healing static?
Yeah, it's every time the shielded unit gets hit, Galio is healed for a fixed amount plus 0.3 per ability power. And it scales, it starts at 20 and it goes up to about 70. So 70 points of heal every time you get hit, but it's 20% less healing on each consecutive hit. So the first one will heal you for like 70, the second one will be like 60, the next one will be like 45, and so on and so forth. So it's not a tremendous amount of heal, and it only lasts for 4 seconds. So really, there's a real cap to how much damage you're going to heal back from it. Maybe 2 or maybe 300 at the outside, and that's considering your AP. So it's not huge, although every bit helps, right?
Yeah, no, okay, that's good. Continue on. I just wanted to clarify some things. Like I said, I haven't been using him, and I'm sure everyone doesn't know everything about him.
Yeah, no, that's a good question, actually, because one of the big issues that you have to ask yourself with Galio, since he is designed to be a tank, is he tough? And the answer is he's not really that tough, because you don't tend to stack, at least the way I've been building him, the way it's been recommended, you don't often stack a lot of health, and there's some issues. I'll finish these abilities, and then we can definitely talk about those things. His next power, his E ability is called Righteous Gust, which is a line-based AoE that does moderate damage and gives your teammates, your allies, and yourself a speed boost if you're running in that direction. So you can use that to help you chase an enemy down, or you can use it to run away from a fight. The damage is in line with his Q ability, as I recall. I'm just pulling it up here. It's basically about the same amount of damage, but it's not quite as useful for farming just because the line's not quite as nice as a round circle. So I tend to level that up last. Any comments on that?
No, like I said, I haven't really used him enough to know, but I think, like, the way you set him up with Q as the first ability, which I also wanted to kind of comment on, that I've noticed, like, for most champions, Q is, like, one of the better abilities. It's, like, almost always the first one you level up to max before you get your ultimate. But, I think the way you set him up is a really good team support, like, with Bulwark being your second level and the Q being the first one. I think it is probably the best setup.
Yeah, I like that, and I do play him kind of supporty, and maybe that's part of the issue why he's not so tanky. But I like to get the Aegis of Legion on him, and that's part of what contributes to that. So
that even helps more for the team aspect of it.
Yeah, absolutely. So his final ability, his ultimate, is the Idol of Durand, which is a 2.5 second channeled ability, When he does it, he assumes the form of a statue. So you can't move. You're just static. You're not attacking. You can cancel it at any point if you need to. If you cast a spell or you click to move, you will cancel the spell early, so you're not trapped in that form. And while it's going on, all nearby foes are taunted towards you, and they do 30% less damage. So everyone must melee you, but they do slightly less damage. And then after you're done channeling, it hits everyone for a certain amount of damage. At the peak, it's 440 plus 8.5 for ability power. So that actually scales quite nicely. And an extra 10% damage for each attack you suffered while channeling. So it actually has potential to do a lot of damage. But the catch is, if you are using this ability against anyone who's got powerful auto attacks, you're probably going to die. And that is the big issue with Galio in general. He works really well if you're stacking a lot of magic resist, and then you can tank casters like crazy. And if you're using a taunt, of course they can't hit you with their spells, but any melee characters is sort of not going to care about that, and they're just going to rip you to pieces.
Yeah, does it go off on his death? Like, if when he dies, does it go off automatically for the damage he's received?
It says after channeling, so I'm not sure if you have to complete the channel or if you get interrupted early. If you break out of it early, does it still do it? I'm hoping it's like Nunu's, where it ramps up until the full duration, at which point it does its full damage. But I haven't tested enough to really be 100% sure.
Okay, and one thing I want to point out, if you're building him as like a straight tank, dodge in that situation could be, again, a double-edged sword. It might keep you alive for those last couple of hits, but it also might make you deal a lot less damage if you end up dodging a lot of attacks because you have your standard tank build on. Dodge really affects the success of his ult because of the way it works with taunt, forcing everyone to make auto attacks against you.
Right, absolutely. Now, the standard item build for him that I've been using is actually pretty similar, pretty in line with the recommended item build, and it's certainly a good build. It would you start off, you build your, you get your Mechie Pendant first, you build it into a Chalice of Harmony. You would normally get your Mercury's Treads because they give you a little bit more magic resist, and you really want to be able to shrug off those taunts so that you can get off your all-important ultimate. And then I tend to get the Aegis because I think every team needs an Aegis, and it's actually fairly compatible with his abilities because it gives you a little bit more magic resist. And then I go for the Guardian Angel. However, that being said, playing with him a little bit more, I'm not convinced that that's the best order. I'm thinking next time I play, I may get the Guardian's Angel before the Aegis, because, as I said, you do tend to die when you go with you go off with your ultimate, and that's really not a great thing. So it would be nice to be able to survive the ultimate there. The other thing, go ahead.
Go ahead. Finish up.
Oh, the other idea I have in mind with him, and I haven't tried this yet, is a pure AP build, because all of his abilities actually scale phenomenally well with AP. And I'm wondering if going for an early Rod of Ages, just rushing that, maybe even getting a pair of Rod of Ages, which is something I see Singe do a lot, that would give you a ton of hit points, give you the ability to survive to get your ult off completely, but then you would be nuking for a considerable amount of damage.
Yeah, basically you just addressed both things I was going to ask. How good would Rod of Ages be on him? I was going to say it seems like it would be really good, and then I was also going to ask about how good his AP ratios are, and then lead into exactly what you said was the Rod of Ages, and we didn't even talk about this beforehand.
Well, great minds think alike, I guess, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm just going to make a quick mention, but you can continue after that. I just think, so far from what I've seen of Galio, did I say this already in the commentary, or was this beforehand?
I'm not sure if you've said it, actually.
Yeah, that I think he's, kind of, overall, a pretty average champion. Which is not bad. I saw some comments on the forums, and everyone's been saying they've been releasing a lot of OP champions recently, and people are complaining that Galio seems bad, and I don't even think that it's bad. He's bad. He's just a solid, average champion. He doesn't stand out in anything, necessarily epically amazing. There's better tanks, there's worse tanks. I think Riot did a good thing here and kind of slowed the power ramping down a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's not a bad sort of perspective on it. I just wish he hadn't been 6,300 IP. That's a lot. That's
a kick in the balls, but so yeah, do you have anything else to say about him, or do you want to move into our champion of the week this week?
I think the last comment is I think because of his passive, it's very easy to fall into the I must stack magic resist trap, and I think that's what I've been doing, and I'm really looking forward. If we play a game after they're doing this podcast here, I'm definitely going to try Galio as an AP build with Rod of Ages and see how that goes, so stay tuned, guys.